My dear friends, if you've been told that once you reach 75, muscle loss is simply part of aging, I want you to pause right there. The body was designed to heal, renew, and strengthen, right up until our final breath. And today I want to share with you a plant food that can help your body rebuild muscle strength even better than eggs in some important ways. No pills, no powders, just food, as nature intended. After the age of 75, something quiet and devastating begins to happen inside the human body, something most people never see until it's too late. Because it doesn't announce itself with pain at first, it announces itself with weakness, with a slower step, with the sudden fear of falling, and this silent process is called muscle loss. And science tells us that adults over 70 can lose up to 1% of their muscle mass every single year, not because the body has forgotten how to build muscle, but because it has become less efficient at using what it's given. This condition is known as anabolic resistance, and it means the muscles are still willing to grow, but they no longer respond well to heavy, hard-to-digest proteins. And here is the shocking truth that few people talk about. Eating more protein does not automatically mean building more muscle, especially in an aging body that struggles to digest, absorb, and transport nutrients. Research in gerontology and nutrition has shown that digestion weakens with age, stomach acid decreases, enzyme production drops, and blood flow becomes less efficient. And when protein cannot be fully broken down, it simply passes through the body unused, leaving muscles starving while the plate looks full. This is why so many older adults are told to eat more eggs, more meat, more dairy, yet continue to grow weaker year after year, because strength is not built by what you eat, but by what your body can actually use. Here is where science reveals something quietly extraordinary. Certain plant proteins, particularly whole soy foods such as tempeh and tofu, have been shown to provide all 9 essential amino acids, making them complete proteins, yet they require significantly less digestive effort than animal proteins, especially when fermented. Fermentation changes everything. It pre-breaks proteins into smaller peptides, reduces anti-nutrients, and increases bioavailability, meaning the aging body does not need to work as hard to extract what it needs. For an older digestive system, this is not a convenience, it is a lifeline. One of the most critical amino acids for muscle repair is leucine, the amino acid that activates muscle protein synthesis, essentially flipping the switch that tells muscle cells to rebuild. And studies have shown that soy protein contains sufficient leucine to stimulate this process when consumed consistently across meals. But muscle growth is not just about amino acids, it is about blood flow, oxygen delivery, and inflammation. And this is where plant proteins quietly outperform many animal sources. Unlike eggs or meat, plant proteins contain no cholesterol and are associated with improved endothelial function, meaning blood vessels remain more flexible, more open, and more capable of delivering nutrients directly to muscle tissue. Muscles cannot rebuild if blood cannot reach them. This is not opinion, this is physiology. Chronic low-grade inflammation, which increases with age, actively blocks muscle regeneration, and diets high in saturated fat and oxidized cholesterol have been linked to increased inflammatory markers, while whole plant foods consistently show anti-inflammatory effects in population studies. In simpler terms, inflammation tells the body to conserve energy and break tissue down, not rebuild it. Reducing inflammation is not optional for aging muscles, it is essential. One of the most overlooked facts in aging research is that many centenarian populations consume far less animal protein than modern diets, yet maintain mobility and independence well into old age. Their diets are centered around legumes, fermented foods, vegetables, and gentle daily movement, not protein overload. This challenges the deeply ingrained belief that aging muscles require heavier and heavier foods, when in reality they require cleaner, more efficient nourishment. When protein is absorbed efficiently, it triggers muscle repair with less metabolic stress, less oxidative damage, and less strain on the kidneys, which is particularly important after 75, when kidney function naturally declines. Multiple studies comparing plant and animal proteins in older adults have found similar muscle-building outcomes when total protein intake and movement are matched, but with lower cardiovascular strain and better metabolic markers in plant-based groups. This means the body is not choosing between strength and longevity, it can have both. But perhaps the most powerful fact of all is this: muscle cells do not age the way we think they do. Research shows that satellite cells, the stem-like cells responsible for muscle repair, remain present and responsive well into advanced age, as long as they receive proper nutrition and mechanical stimulation. The machinery is still there, it simply needs the right signals. Easily absorbed protein sends the signal to rebuild. Reduced inflammation removes the brakes. Improved circulation delivers the materials. And gentle movement tells the body that the muscle is still needed. This is why muscle loss after 75 is not inevitable. It is conditional. Conditional on digestion, conditional on absorption, conditional on inflammation. When the body is fed foods that cooperate with its aging systems instead of fighting them, it responds with resilience that surprises even modern medicine. Strength returns not because the body is forced, but because it is supported. And the most important truth, the one that deserves to be remembered, is this: aging is not a failure of design, it is a change in requirements. When we meet those requirements with wisdom instead of force, the body does what it has always done. It adapts, it repairs, it survives, and sometimes, against all expectations, it grows stronger again. After the age of 75, the body reaches a crossroads that few people are prepared for, a moment where strength no longer depends on how hard you push, but on how wisely you nourish and move. Because the rules that worked at 40 quietly stop working at 80, and the tragedy is that many people are never told this until weakness has already taken hold. Modern culture teaches that strength comes from extremes, heavier weights, higher protein, bigger portions, yet aging research reveals something far more unsettling. Aggressive strategies often accelerate decline in older adults instead of preventing it, because the aging body is not fragile, but it is selective, and it punishes excess. One of the most shocking findings in geriatric science is that consuming large amounts of protein in one sitting does not increase muscle building in older adults, because muscle protein synthesis has a ceiling, and anything beyond that ceiling is oxidized for energy or excreted, placing unnecessary strain on the liver and kidneys without feeding the muscle at all. This means the body is not impressed by overload, it is impressed by rhythm. Studies show that spreading moderate amounts of protein evenly across the day stimulates muscle repair more effectively than consuming the same amount in 1 or 2 large meals, especially after 70, because muscles respond best to repeated signals, not single shocks. Yet most people eat very little protein in the morning, a moderate amount at lunch, and an overwhelming amount at dinner, unknowingly sending mixed messages to muscles that are already struggling to listen. Muscle tissue does not grow in response to force alone. It grows in response to use combined with nourishment, and when nourishment arrives without movement, the body stores it or discards it. But when nourishment arrives after gentle activity, the body interprets it as a repair order. This is why movement after eating is not optional in old age, it is instructional. Even 5 minutes of walking after a meal has been shown to improve glucose uptake, circulation, and nutrient delivery, creating the internal environment muscles need to rebuild, not just survive. The shocking truth is that many seniors are eating enough protein to maintain muscle, but are losing strength anyway because they are sitting immediately afterward, cutting off the very signal that tells the body where to send those nutrients. Muscles are incredibly efficient. They only stay if they are needed. When muscles are not used, the body dismantles them to save energy, regardless of how much protein is consumed, and research shows that muscle disuse accelerates loss far faster than aging itself. This is why bed rest in older adults leads to dramatic muscle decline in days, not years, and why recovery becomes harder the longer inactivity continues. But here is the hopeful part that science confirms again and again. It does not take intense exercise to reverse this message. Light resistance, standing from a chair, climbing a few stairs, carrying groceries, or using resistance bands can reactivate muscle fibers that have been dormant for years, as long as the movement is consistent. Consistency, not intensity, is what aging muscles recognize. In fact, high-intensity training in frail older adults has been associated with higher injury rates, longer recovery times, and increased inflammation, all of which can discourage continued movement and accelerate decline. The body interprets pain as danger, and danger shuts down repair. Gentle daily movement, on the other hand, lowers inflammatory markers, improves insulin sensitivity, and enhances mitochondrial function. the tiny energy factories inside muscle cells that determine endurance and strength. Mitochondrial decline is one of the strongest predictors of muscle weakness in aging, and movement is one of the only proven ways to preserve it. But movement alone is not enough. Protein consumed without movement becomes burden. Movement without nourishment becomes depletion. Strength is born only when the two meet. This partnership is so powerful that studies show older adults who combine light resistance exercise with moderate protein intake can regain measurable strength even in their 80s and 90s, defying the assumption that muscle loss is permanent. What makes this even more profound is that the nervous system adapts alongside the muscle, improving balance, coordination, and confidence, reducing the fear of falling that silently limits movement in so many elderly lives. Fear itself becomes a cause of weakness. When movement feels safe, the body opens up to repair. When movement feels threatening, the body tightens and conserves. Daily gentle movement tells the brain that the body is still capable, still needed, still alive. And when that message is repeated day after day, the body responds with strength that feels almost miraculous, but is in fact deeply biological. One of the most overlooked facts in public health is that independence in old age is predicted more strongly by leg strength than by any other single factor, including heart disease or bone density. Leg muscles are the gateway to freedom. They determine whether a person can rise from a chair, climb steps, avoid falls, and live without assistance. And yet they are often the first muscles to be lost because modern life removes the need to use them. Chair squats, slow controlled standing, and brief walks are not exercises. They are survival skills. When paired with evenly spaced protein throughout the day, these simple movements become powerful instructions to the body. Maintain this tissue, we still need it. And the body listens. Perhaps the most emotional truth of all is that muscle is not about appearance after 75, it is about dignity. It is about carrying your own body. It is about standing without help. It is about choosing when to sit and when to rise. Strength preserves choice. Science does not say that aging demands weakness. It says aging demands cooperation. When nourishment is gentle, movement is consistent, and expectations are realistic, the body does not fight back, it joins in. And this is the secret that too few people are told. The body does not need to be pushed to stay strong in old age. It needs to be invited.